this could be your story if you're surrounded by darkness and you can't see anything else. And you don't know where you're going or who is around you. Hey guys, I am so excited today because I am going to talk about God being our light today. And I really love this topic because God has revealed so much to me through his word about this and just how important light is in our lives. So to really talk about this, I thought the best place to start would be talking about the beginning when God created light. So before God did anything with the earth, on earth there was only darkness, right? The world was empty and void. There was nothing there. It was just empty. There was nothingness, right? And in Genesis 1:1-2, it says, "In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. And now the earth was formless and empty. Darkness was over the surface of the deep, and the Spirit of God was hovering over the waters." So there was nothing there but total darkness, right? It was completely void of light. And I know this is hard for a lot of us to imagine, but imagine being in that place, a place of complete and total darkness, right? There is nothing there. And have you ever experienced anything like that? The closest thing that I can think of that I've experienced is when I was in 4th grade, and I remember this very distinctly. I was in the 4th grade, and we were doing some sort of drill in case an intruder ever came into the building. So everyone in my class lined up, and we all walked through our teacher's closet door. She had locked up the classroom, turned off all the lights. Then she came into the closet, closed the door, and it was completely pitch black. And because there was no light in that room, there were no windows, there was nothing. It was complete and total darkness, right? I couldn't see anything around me, and after a little while, it felt like no one was there. Even though I was surrounded by 20 some other kids my age and my teacher, I felt so alone in that moment. And we were told to be completely silent, to be completely still. You know, in case a real intruder was there, you'd want to be quiet. But I felt like that darkness would go on forever, and I felt totally alone. And I sat in that room, and I still remember those feelings of just darkness, like nothing was there. I couldn't see anything, I couldn't hear anything, and there was nothing. Right? So imagine what that would feel like. And for some of you, this might be how you feel right now. This might be your story. I know for some Christian people, we've walked away from the darkness and stepped into the light, but some of you haven't taken that step yet. And this could be your story if you're surrounded by darkness and you can't see anything else. And you don't know where you're going or who is around you. And I know I was talking about physical darkness in my example, but we're surrounded by a lot of spiritual darkness sometimes too in our lives, right? Especially if you don't know God. You may be surrounded by depression or anxiety or feelings of loneliness or rejection. And that can be just as dark as physical darkness, sometimes even darker. And in the Bible, in John 12:9, it says, "Whoever walks in the dark does not know where they're going. And if anyone walks in the night, he stumbles because the light is not in him." That's John 11:10. And I know some of you feel like you're wandering around the dark with no direction and no purpose. You feel like someone turned all the lights off and you were left in the dark, and you ask yourself, why do I feel this way? Maybe you wake up every day and you say, why am I here? Why do I feel this way? Why do I have these thoughts? Why do I feel so alone? And you ask, why is this happening to me? Why can't I see where I'm going? Why do I feel like I have no purpose? Why do I feel so drained all the time? Why do I feel so tired? Why am I so afraid? Why am I so sad? Why am I so angry? And you may be asking yourself all these questions, and you don't know how to get out of this. You feel so trapped. And I feel like some of you that are listening to this, you feel so isolated, so trapped. Even though you have all these people around you, like I did in that classroom, even though you have all these people sitting next to you, they're beside you, you're not alone. You feel so trapped. You feel so alone. You feel so isolated. And when I was in that closet in my class in 4th grade, I wanted the darkness to end. And I'm sure for anyone that's in pain or darkness right now, you want that to end too. But I had no concept of how long that darkness would go on. It had felt like an eternity. As 4th graders, attention span's not that long. It felt like it was going on forever. But the minute my teacher flipped the light switch, it was over, right? The light was back on. Everything was back to normal. And some of you need to realize that you can get to that light switch too. That there is hope. You don't have to be alone. You don't have to be depressed. You don't have to be anxious. You don't have to be isolated. You don't have to feel rejected. You don't have to be insecure, right? And it may be so dark that you can't even find the light switch right now, but I want to help you find it, right? You don't have to aimlessly search in the dark and wander around. There's an easy way to get to the light. But first, I want to show you how the light was created. So we talked about how before God there was nothing. It was completely void. There was just darkness. But in Genesis 1, 3 through 4, God said, "Let there be light," and there was light. God saw that the light was good, and he separated the light from the darkness. You can't be in the light and the darkness. You can only be in one. So God separated the two because he knew that they didn't belong together, right? They don't belong together. And God called the light good. He said, this is a good thing. So later in the Bible, right, we hear about Jesus. And even if you aren't a Christian, I'm sure you've heard of Jesus. You might know who he is. So in John 1, 1 through 5, it said, "In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. He was with God in the beginning. Through him all things were made. Without him nothing was made that has been made. And in him was life, and that life was the light of all mankind. The light shines in the darkness, and the darkness has not overcome it." So when Jesus comes to the earth, he brings this light because Jesus is the light. And as I talked about that light switch, flipping that switch, you can reach the light. Jesus is the light that you're searching for. And John 1:9 says, "The true light that gives light to everyone was coming to the world." And that light has already come to the world because Jesus died on the cross. And you may think, well, I'm sure there are other things that can bring me light or happiness, right? Maybe partying or drinking or hanging out with my friends or, traveling or having a soulmate, right? Getting married. Maybe those things can be the light that I need, the light in my life, right? But Jesus is the only source of light in this world. Those things may bring temporary enjoyment, but they're not the light that you're searching for, the eternal flame. And John 8:12 says, "I am the light of the world. Whoever follows me will never walk in darkness, but will have the light of life." When you're following God, that light will stay on forever. It won't go out. Because Jesus is our source of light. He can direct our path and guide us. And Psalms 119:105 says, "Your word is a lamp for my feet and a light for my path." Just like you may use a flashlight and a map to guide you when you're trying to get somewhere. Maybe you use a GPS. Jesus and the Bible are your navigation system through life. They are your flashlight and they guide you. Jesus can be your sense of direction and purpose. You don't have to walk blindly anymore. Jesus can be your light to guide you through life. He will give you purpose and direction. He came here for you because he loves you. But you are a chosen people, a royal priesthood, a holy nation, God's special possession, that you may declare the praises of him who called you out of the darkness and into his wonderful light. 1 Peter 2:9. He has chosen you. He has called you his special possession. He loves you so much that you may declare his praises and recognize that he called you out of the darkness and into his wonderful light. And like I just said, God is calling you out of that darkness. He doesn't want you there. He loves you. He is reaching into the darkness to rescue you, but only if you let him. He knows you by name. He knows where you are right now, even if you don't. When you're wandering around in that dark place, you might not know where you are or where you're going, but God does. God knows you. He sees you. He knows you have purpose. And he knows where you're going because he has a path for you if you follow him. He loves you and he sacrificed his son for you. And for some of you that don't know God, that might be hard to understand, but just like that light that I was talking about, God's love is eternal. It goes on forever. And it is greater than anything you could ever imagine. And I promise you that stepping towards him and stepping into the light, it will be worth everything that you could possibly give up in the darkness. Because in the light, you can see where you're going. You can see the purpose you have. You can see who your Father is. In the darkness, you have no idea what's going on. Well, I pray that this touched you and reached you. And if you have any questions about my message and what I shared, I just pray that you would share them with me or share them with a friend. Reach out to someone you know that reads their Bible. And like I said, if you have any questions that you wish to ask me, feel free to drop them in the comments below. And if you like this video, please like and subscribe to support me. And I pray that you have a great rest of your week. Bye!